When we watch the Ocean series, we want the protagonists to win because they are cool, their heists are smart, and the stakes are really, really high. And let's say when you're watching a film like Saduranga Veta, you want the protagonist to win because the life is at stake, the survival is very, very important, and there's a very emotional angle, centered at one place of the world. Vijay Sethupathi's latest film Ace falls somewhere between Ocean's 11 and Saduranga Veta. Vanakkam and welcome to Cinema Express. This is Avinash Ramachandran, and in this video episode, we are going to look at director Aramuga Kumar's Ace, starring Vijay Sethupathi, Rukmini Vasant, Yogi Babu, and Divya Pillai. To understand what kind of film Ace is, there is one scene in the film towards the end where we are waiting for the hero elevation to happen. The villain played by B.S. Avinash, who has been part of the KGF franchise, his henchman, while talking about Sethupathi's bold Kannan, says very, very high words like, you know what's going to happen, yaar varuvanga theriyuma, you know what's going to change the world, you know this guy is never afraid of anything, blah, 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 blah. And this doesn't really gel well with the hero's character we've seen so far, but we are okay with it because we are used to heroes being, praised to the skies with the villains. We are used to everybody around the hero telling just good things about him. But then Ace is a very different film because at that particular moment you have a very, very neat subversion. And this is something that constantly happens in Ace. Whenever you expect something to go in a particular way, Ace finds a slight detour, a slight one-liner, a small change in plans that makes you smile at what's happening. The strength of Ace lies in the fact that the makers are convinced that they're making a very, very limited film. As in, the film wants to tell a very simple story with a very simple premise, just that it is set in Malaysia with interesting characters. It also has a lot of convenience in the way the film flows because the film has a lot of money involved. I'm not talking about the production value, but about the fact that the film literally has words like 20 million, 40 crores, those things just being thrown around like it's a simple number. So a lot of convenience comes into play, and the first time you see this convenience come into play is in the romantic portions between Vijay Sethupathi and Rukmini. Of course, it starts with a classic misunderstanding, but it doesn't really blossom into a love story immediately. It allows the characters to know each other, understand each other, know what they want, not know what they don't want, and finally come into a very, very nice love story. But again, the film is not just about that, so that's the only reason why we move on to a heist part, which is where I have little issues with the film because the heist is very simple. It's very straightforward. It's not this elaborate plan where a lot of things have to come into play, a lot of factors have to come into play. So when the primary heist of the film happens, you are kind of disengaged with the film because you don't really know if you really want to see the heist happen. It's very simple. The film's strength lies in the comic timing of Yogi Babu and the chemistry between Yogi Babu and Vijay Sethupathi. Somehow, we generally in our films, when we see this comedian and the hero play off each other, it's always in a very, very off fashion, the way that they don't really address each other as friends. Here, considering Yogi Babu plays a mentor or a owner of sorts of Sethupathi, there is a very different dynamic there. And Yogi Babu playing this acerbic guy who never thinks twice before saying certain things, they play off each other wonderfully. They scold each other, they insult each other, they call each other names, and honestly, the choice of words might not always be perfect because, come on, listen, there are certain words that don't really ring good now. It is not supposed to be said in the way that it's being said right now. Probably they could have done a bit more on this front, but it's okay because it's a very to and fro thing. Like if you're going to insult Yogi with something, he's going to give it back to you right then and there. But then they could have chosen a better choice of words to insult each other. Another strength of the film is, of course, the romance between Ruku and Kannan. It's beautiful how Rukmini Vasant plays these characters where they start off with a very, very sad backstory which grows into something beautiful. It's always a wonderful arc to see this happen, and points to Aramuga Kumar to not just give the hero and heroine such an arc, but also Yogi Babu, also Divya Pillai, who have a complete arc when the story ends. So they start off wanting something, and then they reach a point where they get it, and then they have to fight for it, and then they have to retain it. This whole arc is interesting because it involves 3 or 4 different people, and each of them have a skin in the game. Each of them do something to ensure things are in order. Each of them fight for their own right. And it's interesting how this heist is not just about Sethupathi or just about Yogi Babu. It's about Rukmini Vasant and Divya Pillai and Prithviraj and Avinash. So a lot of good things happening in the film, mainly because a lot of these these characters' involvement is very, very important in this film, and it's also engaging with the audience. There is something alluring looking at Sethupathi doing romance because he's very stoic in his role. It's not really this all out, I'll do anything for you kind of romance. That's as in he doesn't really put those things out in words, but it's always in actions. And to see Rukmini's character slowly understanding what Kannada is all about, where he comes from, and opening up to a person that she never thought she would. And then this whole thing is very, very beautifully panning out. And it's not, it takes its time. The beauty is that this romance takes its time. But then suddenly, when the movie moves to the heist zone, we miss these nuanced touches, we miss these silences, we miss these beautiful chemistry moments that we see between these two. The thing is, these action sequences, although it has a lot of players involved again and it's quite a bit on the funny side, they are too long. As in, they just go on and on and on. The thing is, when these sequences go on and on and on, you'll have to cut down on, let's say, a comedy sequence being not fully effective, a romantic sequence not being fully romantic, and a sentiment sequence not really, milking on the idea of the emotion. But I think that's also a good idea because this is not a film where you will have to wait and dwell on something. This is a film that it's very, very simple. It has an agenda to make you laugh. Did it make you laugh always? Probably not, but it never stops trying. Yeah, but once they enter into heist territory, there is just one chaotic and convenient occurrence one after the other. There is a chase, there is one more chase, there is a henchman who has it for Sethupathi, there is a chase which suddenly involves one new character, then there is a bank robbery, then there is a lottery ticket, then there is a jackpot, then there is a perverted cop finding his match. A lot of things happen together. Is it fun? Probably. Is it too much? Definitely. As I said, Yogi Babu is fun. Rukmini Vasant is fun. Divya Pillai is fun. So is Babu Prithviraj. So is Avinash. So is Avinash and his team. And Vijay Sethupathi. But somehow, this fun doesn't always translate into something that the audience might react to. But it's also very earnest. It's also very simple. It's also very smart. It's also very, very, very interesting because the last time Aramuga Kumar made a film that was called Oru Nalanal Paatha Solra, which is actually kind of my one of my favorite films, but then that really didn't translate a lot because it was very quirky. The quirks were much more than the plot. But here, even though there were times where he could have gone, let's say, much further with certain gags, the gags really don't overstay. They're welcome. In some ways, it is nice to see Vijay Sethupathi do a film like Ace because in his filmography, if you look at it, there is a constant attempt to do something lighter whenever he does a film which is quite on the heavier side. Let's say a Sangatamaran followed a film like a 96 Pet Sidakadi kind of a film, and then you had, let's say, a wreck that followed a Dharmadurai or Andavan Kattal. Even now, we just saw him play intense roles in Maharaja and Vidudalai too, and now we have a film where he just has to come, walk around, say his lines in a very, very simple way, just react to what Yogi Babu says, just react to what Rukmini Vasant is doing. And even in those reactions, he manages to ensure that there is a slight change in what he does, a slight addition to his emotional showcase. So it's fun to see him in a film like Ace, and it's very important that a film like Ace exists in this space of Tamil cinema, mainly because not every film needs to aim for the stars. Not every film needs to aim for the skies and say that we want to make this big pan-Indian film or make this huge film on this even bigger canvas with a lot of pre-release buzz. Walking out of Ace, what I thought was, okay, it's fun. It has a good romantic track. It has a couple of good songs. It has a decent background score. I saw Malaysia in quite its glory. The characters were all properly fleshed out. The comedy was decent. Yogi Babu and Sethupathi played off each other very, very well. Rukmini had an assured debut. Of course, it had a few flaws. The action sequences extended their welcome. The heist really didn't create that kind of an impact. But the final act did have its moments. It did manage to create a tension mainly because of the presence of Yogi Babu and his Sethupathi and their comedy timing. All of this happened, and then I still don't really think that this film had any takeaway. And I think it's okay. It's okay to film not have a takeaway simply because not all films need to be that kind of a film. Ace is not a star vehicle. Ace is not doing any social commentary. Ace is just existing. And it's okay for films to exist because they exist for a reason. They want to entertain you. You can say you're entertained, you can say you're not, but the fact still remains that we need films that just doesn't want to do too much And in this world and in this time where every film wants to be something, it's nice to for a film to just be. Hope you enjoyed this video review episode, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe to Cinema Express. And do leave your comments on how the film was and how this review was. Till we meet in the next episode on Cinema Express, this is your friendly neighborhood critic, Avinash Ramachandran, signing out. Tata!